Another round of soccer's in session, off-season style. And for this one, we go and catch up with Johnson-Gainesville head coach Frank Zamora. Coach, thanks for hopping on with us in the off-season, even though we know there is no such thing these days.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here with you.
All right, we got the chance to catch up with you during the season, doing games up there. The big Dalton game was the one that sticks out in a lot of folks' minds. When you look back at this season when you ran the table, what are some of your takeaways from this season?
We had a phenomenal season this year. Had a big group of seniors, a core group of seniors that did a great job for us leading the team. It was a season in which we were able to break a lot of school records in terms of clean sheets and least number of goals allowed. It's an exciting season, and obviously a great season for us being able to go back-to-back state champions. So overall, man, it was just an amazing season for us for sure.
How tough is it knowing the pedigree that you've established up there at Johnson-Gainesville? How tough is it and how tough was it to repeat?
It's always hard, regardless of a lot of outside factors. Being able to go back-to-back state champions is definitely a difficult task. This year, we faced injuries early on with some of our key players, but the younger guys really pulled it off, and I think for us here at Johnson this year was more fighting through just the mental aspect of the game and the pressure that these boys felt, that we felt throughout the season. Obviously, we have high expectations here. Our community has high expectations of our program as well. But being able to navigate through those pressures, navigate through the challenges that every team faces, with injuries and showing up and maybe not having your best game and just tough competition. You talk about some of the teams in 4A that we played or that made the state tournament. It's a lot of talent out there. And so it was quite difficult for us to be able to go back to back. But, these boys are talented and passionate about the game. And, we had our clear goal set and they sacrificed and worked hard to be able to accomplish those goals.
How hard is it from the mental side of things to make sure that, because we're talking 15 to 18-year-olds and sometimes 14-year-olds, how difficult is navigating the mental aspect of things as a coach, knowing that you're talking to young student athletes who are 14 to 18 years old?
Right. And it's kind of establishing that balance of, this is what's expected of us. This is what our community expects of us. But at the end of the day is digging deep into their hearts and how bad do you want it, right? Making it personal for them was key for us as well. Navigating through, okay, we've been there, we've done it, we know how it feels. But also, right, it's like, don't get complacent. Yes, we've been there, we've done it once, we've won it. But, we have so much talent, so much passion, and being able to go back to back, again, that was one thing that the boys saw that was clear in their mind. And again, just tying it to making it, personal and making it not just a team goal, but making it a personal goal so that when times got tough, they were able to navigate through that as well.
What'd you learn about yourself as a coach going back to back?
Man, that's a good question. I think that going back to back definitely just that you should always try to grow and learn and develop as a coach as well. I don't think you ever get to a point where like you're done learning. It's a learning experience and it's a different season. This season from last season, we faced different challenges, and it's a career. Coaching is a job that, never stops. You're coaching on the field, you're coaching off the field, and you just never stop learning.
When you look at the schedule and the season, I got a couple of things to ask about this. When it comes to the defense that you had, only allowing 7 goals over a 21-game season where you finished as champ, does that even surprise you at times? The numbers that you put up offensively, putting the ball in the back of the net, and then what you don't allow defensively, do you get the chance to sit back and enjoy and be blown away by some of these staggering numbers that you put up this year?
Yeah, I think once we lifted the trophy, a couple of days later when I sat down to analyze just our stats or data, to see what the boys were able to do on the field is just amazing. Like you mentioned, only allowing 7 goals. We had a very solid defense. very solid back line combined with Christian Hernandez in the back. That when the opponents did get opportunities, Christian, definitely made some good saves. But I think that all goes back to, just the amazing feeling of everything that was accomplished this year by the team. And I'm attack-minded coach. I like to attack, but when your defense can hold on and just, have those numbers, it's a huge satisfaction knowing that, a lot of the times defense, they win the games.
Soccer is in session. Off-season interviews this week, catching up with Johnson-Gainesville head coach on the boys' side, Frank Zamora, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Region schedule is region schedule. That's locked in. You know what you're doing. Because of the pedigree that has been established at Johnson-Gainesville, how difficult is it for you to fill in your non-region games? Because I would imagine it's one of two extremes. You have all the heavyweights that pretty much are resigned that you've got to play other heavyweights because everybody else in a non-region schedule is like, I don't want to go up against something like that because of what may happen on the scoreboard. How difficult is it for Johnson-Gainesville and really all the other heavyweights that you interact with to fill out your non-region schedules in addition to probably having to play each other?
At least for us here at Johnson, it hasn't been difficult because we do have a lot of teams that want to play us. We do have a lot of teams reaching out saying, hey, regardless of what the score might be, I want my team experiencing, the atmosphere at Johnson High School. I want my team playing against, your team. And they take it as a learning experience. As a matter of fact, back in April when I was getting ready to complete the schedule for next year, I had some of those situations there. And then obviously, for us, we want to play against the Daltons. We want to play against the Westminster, some of the heavyweights that you're talking, because that's at the end of the day, that's what's going to make us better as well. And so having that balance and having that combination of, yes, our region schedule is tough enough with some good schools here locally combined with, some of the heavyweights. That's kind of what we're trying to set in our schedule is that balance of being able to grow, continue to develop our program, but in terms of having a lot of difficulty filling in our schedule, that's not really the case because I do have a lot of teams just reaching out, just wanting to play us. And then obviously, we established, I think, a good rivalry with Dalton now, and some of the other schools. Next year, for example, we have Baylor from Tennessee coming down to play us over spring break. This is we're working closely with East Hall and Dalton, and this year would be Northwest Whitfield to kind of put a showcase here down in Johnson, kind of like do a Hall County versus Whitfield County showcase, which will rotate around. This year, Johnson will be able to host it. Next year, we go to Dalton, and then we come back to East Hall. And so, just kind of getting top-level teams playing against one another and getting that exposure for high school soccer for our players, obviously, and being able to invite some college coaches and just making it an evening of good soccer and just a good environment.
When you talk about how the sport has grown, like I said, even just over the last handful of years, what's it been like for you to see where it's grown to where you can have showcases like this, where you want to showcase the Vikes, you want to showcase you guys there, you want to bring in a directional Whitfield and a Dalton that, they'll have, thousands of people watching, whether it's at Chapel Field or whether it's in Tunnel Hill. What's it like to be able to sit there and combine forces? And it seems fairly easy to do where you pick up the phone, hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do this. Where maybe even 5 years ago, it was difficult to do these kinds of things. What's it like to see the sport evolve to where you can have these kinds of showcases?
No, it's an amazing feeling. I'm a soccer guy, grew up playing soccer. And when I grew up, it wasn't soccer didn't get the attention that it's getting now. And obviously, soccer in the U.S. is growing tremendously with, the MLS clubs and, the national team doing well as well. And it's amazing. Again, at the end of the day, we work for the boys. We work for the players and try and get them exposed as much as possible. Obviously, they get some of that exposure through their clubs as well. But this type of event is huge for high school soccer as well. And everybody's pretty much on board in terms of trying to get these events together because there's multiple across the state. It's not just us; it's multiple across the state. But it's a great feeling when you have coaches that, one, care about their players, two, care about the sport, want to grow the sport. We come together, we work together, we can make amazing things happen for our communities, for soccer, and definitely, to benefit our players.
How many coaches do you have on speed dial? And I guess this is my speed dial question. When you need advice, when you have a question, who's on your speed dial? And you can drop names if you want. I don't want to violate any confidences here, but when it comes to you having a question about high school, about student athletes, about the growth of the game, about a situation that you and your staff may have as coaches, who's on your speed dial these days? Is it mentors? Is it peers? How does that work for you these days?
It's a combination. It's definitely a combination of some local coaches here in Hawk County. I'm very close friends with Coach Henry over at East Hall. He was an assistant here at Johnson as well, and so when he took over the East Hall program, and so me and him, we talk a lot throughout the season. My high school former coach is on my speed dial as well. That's one that I go to, and some just colleagues from club. I work here at coaching girls at LSA, Lanier Soccer Association, and so I have a couple of those colleagues there. And like I mentioned earlier, you never know enough. There's always someone out there that can help you. There's always someone out there that can help you develop as a coach, as a person. And so, a lot of the times throughout the season, I think that every coach, has their support group that they go to. And it's nice, it's a good feeling knowing that there's people that care about the sport, that care about the players, and that competition aside, obviously, when it's our game, we want to beat each other and, a clean rivalry on the field. But once we step off the field, if there's anything we need help with, we have that close group of coaches that we're always willing to lend a hand.
All right. King for a day question. If you were king for a day, if Coach Zamora was king of the sport of soccer for a day, and you could address one issue that you think needs to be addressed for one reason or another, what is that issue, and what would you, as the king of all things soccer, do to address that issue that is so concerning for you?
Oh, wow. That's a heavy question there. I think locally,
is there something that really that really bugs you, that you really that you want to address?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, really.
Well, the game is perfect as is.
Well, I think that one of the things, if I could address one of the things, is the whole situation where MLS next players are limited in terms of being able to play high school. I think that has been an issue locally, and obviously in the state and across the country as well, where you have some of the higher level clubs that are in MLS, not allowing some of the players to enjoy their high school years and play, high school. I don't have the solution for it. I see both. I see the benefits of both, being involved with both. I see the benefits of high level club soccer. But I also see the benefits of high school soccer and the emotion that goes, the pride that goes along with just the social aspect of high school soccer. And here in Georgia, we're blessed because we have, high level talented teams across the state as well. And so you have high level soccer in high school as well. But I think if I could address something, that would be finding a solution for that. The boys that do play high level club MLS Next could also enjoy their high school seasons as well without the just overdoing it. The tiredness of they're not supposed to do it. Some boys do it, some boys don't. But if there was something, definitely that would be one of the things.
All right. So what are the next parts of the calendar that folks need to be keeping an eye out for when it comes to the 2023-4 season for Johnson-Gainesville? What's on the calendar? What do the folks need to keep an eye out for?
Yeah, well, we have a couple of 7v7 tournaments coming up during the summer, for sure. But then again, mentioned some of the big games that we have lined up next year. Gainesville Johnson's always a clásico for us, a big game that's coming up. Next season at the end of the season, that's actually our last game. We have this big showcase that we're trying to put together, that coaches have already agreed, and now we're just kind of working on the logistics of it, which will have East Hall versus Northwest here at Johnson High School at 5:30, followed by Johnson against Dalton right after that. So it's going to be a doubleheader for those 4 schools. And again, first annual Hawk County versus Whitfield County showcase. And then over spring break, we do have another powerhouse, a national powerhouse, as Baylor schools up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, coming down to play here in the Dungeon over spring break. And then the following year, we're headed up there to return the visit. But, that's what we're trying to create here at Johnson is having those national showcases, those state showcases where we bring some of the best teams to play against and, continue to grow the sport, continue to expose our players and just benefit from the competition.
Frank Zamora, the head coach at Johnson-Gainesville on the boys' side, ran the table, back-to-back state champs, and a lot of great things planned for the Dungeon coming up next season. Coach, thanks for hanging out with us off season as soccer goes in session, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for being a great friend here at SDH.
Perfect. Thank you for having us.